Now, for my last whiskey of the flight of tonight, I have something kind of special. But first, I started with Basil Hayden's um, Dark Rye, which is American rye whiskey mixed with some Canadian rye whiskey, and there was a little bit of port added to that. It was very good, very rich, and tasted great at 40% alcohol by volume. Next, after that, I had some Jefferson's Ocean Voyage number 12, bottled at 45%, which was also delicious. I followed that with a Weller's Antique 107, which was generously donated to the channel by Don Holland last year. And now I have another donation. This is a sample Sunday special. It's a sample. The sample was given to me or sent to me by John, the whiskey neighbour, who lives over in Alberta. And this is the Old Ezra, aged 7 years, barrel strength bourbon at 58.5% ABV. My goodness. Now, my personal experiences with Old Ezra date back some 34 years at this point in time. It was the summer of 1986, as I recall. My girlfriend and I were driving back from Quebec City to Montreal. We spent the day in Quebec City just to see it, just to see the Plains of Abraham and the fort and the Chateau Frontenac and the Quebec City. And I think we did some dining in a restaurant at some point. Anyway, we were driving back towards Montreal from Quebec City, and there were these hitchhikers. So I stopped and let them in the car, and we drove towards a house that was somewhere on the South Shore. I forget where the hell it was, but it was somewhere along that highway on the South Shore that goes from Quebec City to Montreal. And when we got there, the guy who lived in the house, and these two boys were sort of living with him. I don't know what the arrangement was, but he offered me some whiskey. And he went into his cabinet and he pulled out this wooden box. And in the wooden box there was some Old Ezra. I had never heard of this stuff before because it was only available in the United States. So I tried it and I thought it tasted magnificent. So much so that about 3 years later, when I was going to work up in the north and I happened to be in the States, I went through Albany, New York, and I found a liquor store there that had some Old Ezra. I bought 2 bottles, along with some other things. And I smuggled these 2 bottles and the other things into Canada. And that's the only time I've ever done any smuggling, but I did it. And when I got up into the bush up in northern Quebec, I had that bottle of Old Ezra, and I enjoyed it to the maximum. I left the other bottle of Old Ezra in the liquor cabinet at our house. Well, it was my parents' house, but I was living there, but I was working out of town, so it was no point in having an apartment separate from my parents' house. If I'd be back home for a couple months and working for another 4 months and back home for a couple months, it wasn't really worth paying for an apartment. So anyway, I put that bottle of Old Ezra, it was 50% ABV, and I put it in the liquor cabinet. When I came back after being in the bush for some months, it wasn't there. And I found out that my sister had found it and drank it all. To this day, and we're talking 34 years, my sister still owes me a bottle of Old Ezra, 50% alcohol by volume. It's made by Luxco, from what I understand, or they own the brand. And I think I'm going to pour this wonderful little sample from John. And how many? 58.5% ABV. Oh my goodness. I'm in for something here. Might as well cleanse my palate. Right now, at the very beginning, I'm smelling ozone and cotton candy. You know how that cotton candy has a sweetness to it? But it's a light sweetness because the things are so thin. I'm reminded of cotton candy. The ABV is so high that I'm really not getting much else. Just cotton candy. On the nose, that is. Here's a bit of spiciness. Oh yeah, there it is. Spiciness coming from the virgin oak and no doubt from the rye component of the mash bill. I don't know what the mash bill is. I'm really not very good at doing research. I guess I didn't study for a doctorate because I don't like research. Okay, we got some ridges there. We got some drops coming on down. I hope you can see that. Yeah. Okay. Along with a bit of a spicy rye note, I'm getting some marshmallows. And not all that much, just because of the high ABV. This might burn a little bit. I will add some water if need be. The need probably is. There is a little bit of a sweet fruity note to it. And there's a little bit of cherries to it. I remember my dad tried it when I brought it home after a trip to New York State when I went to Albany. The same trip. And I think I opened the bottle that my sister grabbed. But I opened the bottle and we tried it, my dad and I. And my dad commented, I mean, he's been deceased now for 13 years. He commented that that's only for snakes. Like sidewinding rattlers that go through the desert. Old Ezra, the way he would say Ezra, with his Austrian accent. Old Ezra. Yeah, got some fond memories of my dad. And when I drink something like this, brings it right back. It's getting interesting. The flavors are not that big. They're kind of harmonious in that they kind of blend together. I'm going to add some water to bring the ABV down to a more comfortable drinking strength for me. Uh-oh, I dripped a bit. 1 spoon. And I dripped a bit on my chair. Yeah, missed my pants, but I got the chair. Oh, yeah. Cast strength just hits you. Ooh. I get a pleasant rye spice. I get a little bit of corn husks. So yeah, it's mostly corn whiskey in here. There's some rye as well. But mostly corn sweetness. Now that I've added some water, I'm getting a lot more nosing notes than I did before. Corn husks, sweetness. This might be a low rye mash bill. Although I'm getting a little bit of the spice, it's not overpowering. Huh. Little whiff of railway ties there. Wasn't expecting that. Now I'm getting some vanilla. The vanilla is coming in on the left nostril. Quite a bit of vanilla. The caramel is conspicuous in its absence. Vanilla on the left nostril. Some rye spice on the right. Interesting. Now it's becoming a mixture on the right and vanilla on the left. The addition of water is just what this might have needed. There is a fruity note reminding me of mandarin oranges. I don't know where the hell that came from, but it does remind me of mandarin oranges, and I like it. Mandarin oranges, blood oranges. Do that again. Yeah. Blood oranges. Bit of rye spice. Do I get the vanilla again? Yeah, only not quite so much. Yeah, there's some other interesting flavors coming in here. Besides the blood orange and the spice and the vanilla, I can't quite put my finger on that one. There's one that's just hit the back of my tongue, and it's fruity, but I can't put my finger on what fruit it is. It's on the back of the tongue. What's interesting, vanilla, is that I'm not getting that much of a hug on this, but I did add a whole spoon of water. Well, my stiff upper lip got itchy. Here's that blood orange again. Some spice from the rye. Some vanilla towards the end. This is quite nice. Thank you, John, for sending me this sample. I'm appreciating. I can't speak anymore. I'm appreciating it very much, and I think that the rest of this bottle, the rest of this sample, because I have enjoyed this part so much, is going to go right into my bourbon and rye infinity bottle. Not all of it. Half of what was left. I'm going to save a bit for later. Gonna save a bit for later. But some went into the infinity, just so you know. Cheers.
Foodquig.
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 Yeah.